A baying mob threatening murder, forcing the scrapping of a vote in Westminster, the mother of all parliaments, and the home of our representative democracy. What a time to be alive. Cancel culture and big tech censorship has seen free speech brought into question in recent years. And now a terrifying, bloodthirsty rabble of extremists descend on the nation's capital to threaten our elected officials. No one comes out of this utter debacle with any credit. The leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, lobbies the Speaker of the House to scrap a perfectly reasonable SNP vote on whether an immediate ceasefire should happen in Gaza. Starmer's argument was the safety of his MPs, who he said could be attacked or murdered if they didn't vote for an immediate ceasefire. Funny, though, that by getting his way, the outcome is that he avoided an embarrassing defeat with a humiliating backbencher revolt and a likely front bench set of resignations. That's very convenient for Keir Starmer. Labour denied that Starmer threatened Lindsay Hoyle that he'd cease to be Speaker in the event of a Labour government. But they don't need to make that threat, do they? It's implicit. His failure to support the party leadership would be duly noted. It's also worth pointing out that BBC Newsnight's Nicholas Watt, no friend of the Tories, is standing by his story that the Labour Party leadership did indeed make such a threat to chuck him out when they achieve power. Extraordinary stuff. Now, the Speaker is supposed to be independent. He's not there to be lobbied, cajoled, guilt-tripped or bullied by members of Parliament. He just has to be impartial and maintain parliamentary protocol. Speaker Hoyle is a decent man and has impressed MPs from across the House with his efforts in recent years. He's been like Mary Bloody Poppins compared to that bad-tempered and proven bully John Bercow. It's therefore unfortunate that Hoyle's unconstitutional actions, which I'm told he was advised against doing by parliamentary staff, have got the Labour Party out of a political bind. A Labour split would have been very illuminating for the British people, who would have been indulged with an exclusive and compelling preview of what a Starmer government might actually look like. One utterly divided. The optics would have been potentially disastrous for Sir Keir Starmer, with a clear message that this man has no real control over his own party. If they do win, I actually hope that Labour achieve a landslide victory. God help us if they only get a slim, narrow majority, in which case the bonkers left of the party, the likes of John McDonnell, Richard Bergen and self-confessed proud socialist Rebecca Long-Bailey, will hold the whip hand over the man who would be our next Prime Minister. The left's answer to the ERG. Yikes. Now, Hoyle was either naive in yielding to Starmer's lobbying, or he allowed his party loyalties to prevail because, whilst as Speaker he is an independent, he entered the House of Commons as a Labour MP. Either is disastrous for someone whose role is to be the custodian of our elected chamber. Those defending him would argue he was deeply worried about the idea that Labour MPs could face violence if the vote went ahead and they didn't support an immediate ceasefire. But if Hoyle genuinely made this decision for fear of mob violence, then as Speaker, he has allowed the House of Commons to be dictated to by an army of violent thugs outside of Parliament, projecting the words "from the river to the sea," a known anti-Semitic slogan, onto Elizabeth Tower, known more colloquially as Big Ben. If the optics of hateful, racist language projected onto probably our most iconic building and the home of our democracy don't worry you, if that image of Big Ben hijacked by anti-Jewish propaganda doesn't demonstrate we're losing control of our country, its laws and its values, then I can't help you. Just reflect for a moment on the idea that members of Parliament are now afraid to vote a certain way in the House of Commons for fear of physical attack when they are outside. That our Parliament is sovereign and all-powerful is sacrosanct in this country. This pathetic fudge by Speaker Hoyle, as a result of pressure from renowned political opportunist Sir Keir Starmer, will give encouragement and succour to those dangerous ideologues who preach hate, death and destruction, and whose pronouncements are not just illegal, but are an affront to British values. Vicious thugs are threatening to tear down our democracy. The Speaker of the House is there to uphold democracy, not to undermine it, which is what was allowed to happen earlier this week. This is like political and cultural quicksand, and we are sinking fast. Britain, as we recognise it, risks becoming a thing of the past. Welcome to hell.